Fairgrounds USA, countyfairgrounds.net. Welcome to today's podcast.
Hi, I believe I'm talking to a Mr. Shad Petersan of the Gravity team, right?
Play with Gravity, yes.
Okay, so you want to tell our listeners what that is?
Okay, so we, quite a few years ago now, we actually started a company called Play with Gravity. It's basically a motorcycle stunt show that we do, but it's a little bit different. It's not like the freestyle jump in the air type, do the tricks sort of thing. It's more of, it's a sport called trials. So it's a little more kind of like balance, finesse, kind of hopping the bike up weird ramps type thing. So it's not really defying gravity, just kind of playing with it, which is kind of where we got the idea for the name.
Okay, so you do shows all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how long you've been doing them? And tell me about some of the shows you've done.
Yeah, I think we actually started right around 2003 or so, is when we actually started doing shows. We started just kind of doing some stuff locally, just kind of at motorcycle dealerships around our hometown in Casper. Branched out a little bit to like Rapid City, South Dakota, so not too far. We really didn't get into the fair industry until about 2006. And that's kind of when things started taking off, and we started doing a lot more of that sort of business, and ended up booking some other stuff, of course, through the fair business as well.
So do you want to tell me about some of your favorite experiences?
Well, probably my favorite experience, we do a lot for Feld Entertainment and Monster Jam. And a few years ago, they had us over in Anaheim at Angel Stadium for one of their monster truck shows. And we did a show during the pit party called the Entertainment Zone, which is, I think it's like another $10 ticket or something to kind of come in and meet the monster truck drivers. And then they had a few shows there. And in addition to that, I mean, that was all right on its own. But in addition to that, they also had us fill in the stadium during the show. So we actually quite literally got to ride in Angel Stadium in front of a sold-out crowd of 45,000 people. So that was a pretty cool experience. Doing the fair in Florida, which was in Naples, Florida, during March when it was all snowy at home in Wyoming. That was a pretty good experience as well. About every show is actually pretty fun because it seems like especially with fairs, everything is so different everywhere you go. Every place kind of has their own niche that they do really well that you haven't seen before, no matter where you go. So it's kind of a fun industry all around.
Okay, so you actually put on a show. How long is the show? And what kind of space do you need to do it in?
So we're actually a 30-minute show. So we typically are a grounds act. Sometimes they'll add us to like a demolition derby or something like that. But for the most part, we're just a free grounds act, like most entertainers are. Like I said, 30-minute show, and then we only need about 50 foot by 60 foot because of the trials deal. We're not really jumping through the air very far, so we don't really need much space at all.
Okay, do you need any special equipment to do the show?
No, we bring everything we need. We have a trailer that all the ramps unfold to do the show on. Of course, we bring our own sound system and all of that. So we really, other than just needing kind of a level spot and whatever bleachers you want for the crowd, that's about all we need.
Mr. Shad, I think you have another career, don't you?
I do. Yeah, I do.
So how in heaven's sake, you want to tell our audience what that is and how in heaven's sake you got involved in this?
Yeah, so I am a respiratory therapist at a hospital. If you don't know what that is, that's a good thing because it means you haven't had to see one. But essentially, we're kind of a specialty we're like a nurse, except we specialize in lungs. So if you end up on life support with a breathing machine, we manage that machine. If you come in with asthma or COPD, something like that, where you need some treatments, we will actually do those for you. So again, if you haven't seen one of us, that's a good sign. But that's my other job. I actually work in a hospital, which is kind of a crazy idea considering that my other career is doing motorcycle stunts for a living. That's kind of a weird mix, but, sometimes fact is more interesting than fiction, I guess.
So the concept of the show was basically your idea, though, right?
Yeah, it is. There's some other shows doing it as well, so I can't say it was all completely my idea, but I have kind of my own little twist on it that's definitely unique to us.
And you have a team that you work with?
Usually, yeah. I'm kind of in a bit of a transition period right now because I'm having some trouble finding some other riders. I do the show myself, and I would like to. Normally, I bring another rider. Like I said, I'm kind of in a transition period because my other riders have either kind of retired or they've moved on to other jobs that they can't get away to do this. So I'm trying to transition to kind of pick up some of the younger guys to try to start that cycle back over. But yes, normally we come with a few riders.
You have any kids?
I do. I have one kid. He's about to turn 2 in October.
Oh, because I interviewed a cannonball guy who now has he was 36 and his son is like 5 and his other son was 7, and he's already shot his 7-year-old out of a 5-foot cannon.
Well, that kid's definitely got the best story when he comes back to school of what did you do with your summer, for sure.
Yep. Okay, so I'd like to know what kind of places you would like to perform, and do you do more like than one show a day, or you just limit yourself to one show for the day?
Yeah, we typically do up to 3 shows a day. I mean, it kind of depends on what the fair needs. When I say typically, it's an average. A good example would be when we went to Odessa, Texas. Their fair is in September, so when school is in. So during the week, they're 9 days, but during the week, they don't even open until 5 p.m. So we did 2 shows during the weekdays, but on the weekends, we upped it to 4 shows just to kind of make up for that. And we don't have any problem with that. My main problem is I can't really do much more than an average of 3 because they're very physical shows, and, I mean, we just flat get wore out. So, but yeah, normally 3 shows. As far as where I want to perform, it doesn't really matter to me. I can kind of find cool things in all places. I've actually found, if anything, it's been kind of a blessing that I don't get to pick that stuff because I found stuff that I didn't even know existed in some of these other towns and cool experiences that I would have never gotten if I was picking them out for myself. So I'm pretty much open to going anywhere that'll have us, really.
Okay, I'm going to ask you what I asked the cannonball guy, too. What kind of physical shape are you in?
I'm not in as good a shape as I used to be, but I'm still in much better shape than probably the average person. I mean, I kind of have to be riding a motorcycle like that and being able, not only that, but I also announce for myself, so I talk on the mic. So in addition to be able to doing the show, I have to do it without being out of breath because, nobody wants to hear somebody just breathing heavily on the microphone. So I have to kind of stay calm and collected too. So I actually ride year round. So I think that's probably the best way to stay in shape. I definitely practice a lot more than I do shows. So there's quite a bit of time that goes into just keeping the physical activity part going for me.
Okay, and how long is an average show?
Average show is 30 minutes.
All right, and you don't really have any place particular you would really, really like to go because you can put a plug in for it now.
I've actually never been overseas. That would be cool to travel to a different country or even Canada or Mexico, anything like that. Other than that, I don't really know. I can't say that I'm really trying to go anywhere because, like I said, I find cool places about everywhere I go. So I'm pretty happy with about anything, honestly. I mean, that sounds really I don't know, PR friendly to say, but it's kind of true. I mean, I'm up in Montana right now. I've been to this show a few times, but this is kind of up near the Canadian border, and I found a couple cool breweries and a couple old historic towns that I wouldn't have known about otherwise. So yeah, I'm actually pretty open to about anything.
Okay, so have you seen anyone else doing the kinds of things that you do?
I have, not in person, but I know, being from the trials area and having grown up competing, a lot of the guys that I competed with are doing shows now, or people that I at least knew of. So I know of other people. I've never actually seen one of their shows in person, just kind of the YouTube clips.
Okay, and what do you mean growing up doing this?
Well, you don't start doing motorcycle stunts, right? I mean, that you can't just hop on one and do this stuff that takes years to develop. So actually what I started doing was riding trials competitions. That's really where all of this grew from, was I started riding competitions, and unfortunately the national competitions don't pay any money. So we kind of needed something to keep us on the road, per se, and pay our entry fees. So we decided, well, maybe we can do a few of these shows for local businesses and make a little bit of cash to kind of help us get to the national tour. So that's really how it started. We didn't anticipate it being a career by any means, but it kind of ended up that way. So, yeah, when I say that, and all my riders I pull from competitions as well, they're all people that have competed. You're looking at, I mean, my show showcases some of the best talent in the U.S. It's not something you can just jump on a bike and do. It takes years and years of working at it to develop that kind of skill to be able to do it. So in order to do that, of course, you've got to play the game like the rest of us, go to the competitions and compete against other people and practice with people and things like that.
Okay. Well, now you have a kid, so you can teach your kid to do it, right?
I do, yeah. He's a little ways off, but hopefully in 12, 13 years or so, maybe we can get him on a bike and performing for me, and I can just talk on the mic. That'd be a much easier job.
Yeah, well, little kids bounce. So
That's true. Yeah, he can probably take a few more crashes at his age than I can at mine, that's for sure.
Okay, so now you need to tell our listeners how they reach you and what they need to do if they're interested in booking you.
So I have a website. It's gravityteam.com. It hasn't been updated in a while, but we're going to change that here within the next week or so. We're going to get back on that. We have a Facebook page too as well. If you look up Play with Gravity, you'll find us there. That's kind of where most people contact us anymore. I think that's kind of the route that a lot of the internet in general is going, is headed more towards the social media pages and away from websites in general. But yeah, we're on Facebook there. You can find us, Play with Gravity. If you just look it up on there, you'll see our page and my shameless plugs and all that.
So how much notice do you usually need to do for people to book?
Well, usually a few weeks, I would say. Typically, most of that's not to guarantee we're going to have the dates available, of course, but at least 2 weeks, because, again, I do have a regular job at working in a hospital, so I need to know when to schedule time off and things. Luckily, they're very flexible with me, and they allow me this sort of time, but a few weeks at least. Typically, we start our fair booking in about November for the very next summer, so the earlier the better for sure.
Okay, well, I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you on this podcast thing, and hopefully it'll help you out. And thank you, Mr. Shad Petersan.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully it was interesting enough to be worth a listen.
Talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks.